I'm gonna do something that'd be a little more fun. This is something I like to do, and it's just some fun stuff. So we're gonna look on truck paper at trucks that I might buy. Marine camp. Uh-oh, they're speaking my language. Uh-oh, guys. All right, hang on. I'm gonna pause the video and go buy this truck. Hang on. I'm just kidding. You got wiring harnesses that are all torn to crap. I mean, you got rusted frames. Oh my Lord. Yeah, you guys. No, I can't. No, this is a project truck. This is not a good first truck. Nope, not interested. C12. Wow, Super 10. Awful. All right, guys. I'm going to try to address a comment that I got. I've tried to film a couple of videos about this. And they just got super long and probably a little confusing. I don't know if I'm going to post them or not, but the comment was, what truck should you buy? So I think he's referring to, probably Flatbed, since that's what most of my channel is. And so I did some driving videos where I just talked about the different trucks, the models, the engines, that sort of thing. I might post those. They're pretty long and boring if you're not interested in, gearhead talk. But I might post those, but I'm going to do something that'd be a little more fun. This is something I like to do, and it's just some fun stuff. So we're going to look on truck paper at trucks that I might buy. And I'm going to be looking at the, because there's kind of three schools of thought. And so this school of thought that I'm going to be focusing on for this video is going to be old school. Part one, so to speak, which is going to be old school. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for some old school trucks that are emissions free, trucks that I think you could be profitable in with, as an owner operator, someone who is wanting to get into the business and wanting to stay out of the modern trucks, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to look for 1995 to 2002. And then manufacturers, we're going to stick with Kenworth and Peterbilt. I don't think we're going to select models on this one. We're just going to look for all Kenworth and Peterbilt within those years. Now, I'm sorry to the Freightliner guys and the International guys and the Volvo guys. I just, if someone asks me what truck should I buy, I'm going to tell them what I would like to buy. And I don't look at the Freightliner brands. I don't look at the International brands. I don't look at the Volvo, the Mack, the whatever, Ford. Ford did make semi-trucks, but I just don't look at those crazy brands. There's just no reason to. All those, I guess Freightliner's not a crazy brand. It's just, if we're looking for old school trucks, one thing you have to remember is even a year 2000 is now 26 years old, right? So Freightliner doesn't support their product very well. So I have to recommend sticking with the PACCAR brand, Peterbilt and Kenworth. Plus, they're more fun. They're better to drive. They hang together better. So let's see, what else can we get the searches down? So the W900 is definitely one that I would recommend buying. I've only owned one years ago. Nothing wrong with the I kind of prefer the Peterbilt brand, but the Kenworth sleeper and cab is a little more roomy. So especially if you're over 6 foot, you'll probably like the living space of the Kenworth a little better. I wonder if we ought to put a price in here, because some of these trucks are going to get crazy in price. So let's just, so we're kind of funny, we're pretty much only pulling up long hoods, which when you're looking at these old trucks, you're kind of pretty much going to be looking at long hood trucks. So here's a short hood, T800. I don't know if the T800 is the best one for over the road. I'm assuming this would be looking at over the road. T2000, here is an interesting truck. I've never owned one of these. They're kind of dorky looking. If you're hauling van or reefer, because of the tall sleeper, this could be a really good option. It has a Caterpillar in it, and it's a 2000. Let's click on this. I don't think personally I'd like to buy this just because I don't like the look of them. Sorry guys, but I just don't like the look of them. But if you needed a cheap truck with a good engine, 6NZ, look at that. That's a fantastic engine, and it's got an 18-speed, guys. 8502s. Ooh. Wow. This is a souped up with 85K on a platinum kit with a new head, new head studs. Well, of course. Marine Camp. Uh-oh, they're speaking my language. Uh-oh, guys. All right, hang on. I'm going to pause the video and go buy this truck. Hang on. I'm just kidding. Yeah, actually, this could be a damn good truck for $38,000. Especially for someone pulling van or reefer. In the flatbed world, I mean, it'd pull a flatbed just fine. I just, there might be a better choice. See, he's taking the skirts off, or wait a minute. Yeah, he's taking the wings off, or whatever, the tank, or the cab fairings. I don't love how this looks just dorky. He's tried to make it straight pipes, but they're sticking out the back. It's like, that's not where stacks go. Probably should have just done a weed burner at that point. But with that engine, if you ran the truck, you might get a lot of fumes in the cab if you didn't do stacks. You guys, this is an interesting truck. I'm going to be honest with you. What I'm really curious about was what was the. I've never been inside of one of these cabs. They're kind of the first cab that was large, wide. It's about as wide as the T680, the new one. And if you look here, you got a nice table just like the T680. This could be a great truck to live out of as far as space. Yeah, this. Let me look here. It doesn't mention. So with the Marine Cam and 8502s, guys, this is going to be pretty substantially powered. This is going to be, I'd be shocked if it came in under 650. I mean, he'd have to have a pretty weak tune in there for it not to give 650 in horsepower. This is a extremely well-built engine. That setup works very well together, guys, especially with the 78 millimeter turbo. It's about the best setup you can do. I'm not convinced the Marine Cam is the, well, I've had a lot of experience with Marine Cam, guys. I've had 3 trucks with them. I'm not positive it's the best move, but if you want high horsepower, it's the way to go. The thing I'm not sure about, so this is a 2000, more than likely, almost certainly, this was built in 1999. So, this would be an E-Log exempt truck. Yeah, 650 horsepower. What did I say? I didn't see that. Yeah, I figured. Wow, guys. I'm just going to, yeah, like I said, I'm going to pause the video, call this guy, send him a check, and get a hold of me and come drive this truck for me. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, guys, at first looking at it, I was not interested. And then once you look at it, you know, I hate the dorky look. It is more aerodynamic. I get it. Like, this would probably get better fuel mileage than a 379 or a W9 for sure, even pulling a flatbed and having the tall roof. And it's built well. I don't love how the tires right here and you can't work on anything and everything's tight. But it's a pretty simple engine, so there's nothing really to work on. You know, it's not like you got to move a bunch of stuff. So Gosh, this could be a good. So I'd have to put my thumbs up on this truck here. Dorky, not cool, not classy, but this is probably a moneymaker. The question is, how was the overhaul done? 85,000 on overhaul. Okay, so here's the problem with any of the old 90s engines. When they say overhaul, not all overhauls are equal. And so what that means is, did they put new pistons, rings, and sleeves in there and call it an overhaul? Because you could do that. Did they change all the bearings? Did they, what did they do? Did they even check the liner protrusion, which is a huge problem that a lot of your mom and pop shops forget to do? And you have liner protrusions that are way too low, and you're going to blow head gasket after head gasket after head gasket, and eventually you'll be pulling it out, cutting the block, doing another overhaul because someone didn't do it right. So I'd want to get some real information on that overhaul. The price, I mean, if this truck didn't have a cat in there, it'd be worth about $7,000. Let's be honest. Okay, guys, enough about this truck. That's a good one, though, actually. I like that one. Let's move to something a little cooler, like a 379. This is my favorite truck, the 379. Not an 02, though. This here would be my favorite truck. Let's see, 2000, yes. That's a beautiful truck, too. I love that paint scheme. It's not my favorite paint scheme, but it's pretty nice. Let's click on this one. Awfully high priced, guys. $62,000. And it does not have a cat in there. Cat, if you guys haven't figured out by now, Cat is my favorite engine. But I've never had a Detroit, and I've always wanted one, just to try them. I hear great things about them. So let's take a peek here. 12.7 Detroit, 250,000 on overhaul with paperwork. Again, you need to verify where this was done and what they did. Make sure they have a liner protrusion chart, meaning when they did the overhaul, they wrote down the liner protrusions and put them in the paperwork package. That's part of an overhaul. If they didn't do that, you're just going to be rebuilding the damn thing again. I can't say don't buy it because it might be a good truck, but you're just going to have to figure in another overhaul because they probably didn't do it right. 600 horsepower. This is scary because, it's a little high for a 12.7. I mean, they can do it. It's just, I don't know. I'd be a little scared about that. 18 speed, great. It's my favorite transmission. 270 wheelbase is right where, yeah. I mean, 264 would be okay, but 264 to 280 would be fine, I think. I'd say I'd put my stamp of approval on this one as well. If you got the money and want a cool truck, this 12.7, if built right, you can get better fuel mileage than you'll ever get out of a Cat. I mean, as much as I love Caterpillars, the 12.7 Detroit absolutely got better fuel mileage. So this one here, pulling a flatbed, if you drove it right now, it doesn't say anything about the rear end package. I'm going to assume that we have 350. Let's see, this is a 12. So where is this? 2000. I'll bet you it's got 373s. So let's go over to a calculator here. Do I have this up? Yes, I do. Thank goodness. So let's say we have the Low Pro 22.5, which comes into pretty much. I know that the tire manufacturer claims it's different diameter, but this is the correct diameter from when you actually run the math. So let's change it to 3.73. This is a gear calculator. Let's see what we'd be at with the 18 speed. With that gear, because that's probably what the gear has, with that transmission. And so if we wanted to run fairly slow with this truck, say 62, that engine would be humming around in 18th gear at 1446 on RPM. For the 12.7, I think that's ideal. So we wouldn't really want to drive faster than 62 though. If we're one of those hotheads that wants to drive 75, you guys, we're going to be 1800 RPM nearly. It's just it. I mean, the 12.7 Detroit will do that and do it well. It actually likes 1800. It's just it won't get good fuel mileage there. So this would be a nice truck to get into if you were willing to keep it pretty slow. Which is going to be the case for all these classics, guys. Pulling a flatbed with this kind of aerodynamics, I prefer to run that 62 mile per hour zone. 60 to 65 works pretty good. You get good fuel mileage. And to be honest with you guys, with traffic, you're not going to go much faster than that anyways. Okay, let's go back. That one would be yes if we want an expensive truck and a cool truck. Let's see here. I don't like that. It looks like that's had too much dollars too. For your first truck, I honestly think that 6,200 or 62,000 is just too many dollars for your first truck. Let's see if we can get into something a little cheaper here. Here we go, 29,000 bucks. Cummins. I know very little about the Cummins, guys. This would be a truck you could get into and have a fixer-upper. Looks like 13 speed, 18,913, so it's an 18 foot-pound torque transmission. That's a good transmission, nothing wrong with that at all. Low Pro 22.5, new exhaust. Let's see. So this is the N14. The N14 is thought to be a wonderful engine. I know very little about it. But in this year, 1999, this would have been a very good engine. So there's no talk about overhaul here. This could I definitely put my thumb of approval on this one, my thumbs up. If you know what you're doing, and if you're already a gearhead, you're already a truck guy, and you have some experience with that 14 liter or the N14. Or you have a mechanic that knows that really well. Let's say you live close to Pittsburgh Power. They love the Cummins over there. You call them, you ask them, you take the truck to them, and you have them inspect it real quick, right? Look for blow-by. You're probably going to be doing an overhaul here pretty soon. So get a price on overhaul from someone that knows that engine, like Pittsburgh Power. There's probably lots of shops that know that engine. It's a very, very popular engine. Well, it's probably the least popular that I've seen in trucks. You find that engine in trucks the least. Cat, Detroit are fairly popular. The N14 is the least popular. Potentially one of the better trucks though, engines, because it's a great compromise between horsepower and fuel mileage. The Cat has lots of horsepower. The Detroit has lots of fuel mileage. The Cummins has some pretty damn good fuel horsepower and torque, but also does much better on fuel than the Cat does, generally speaking. Now we can make the Cat do quite well, but you could make this do better. So this one could be good. Now let's go look at the pictures and make sure it's not torn to hell. With these old trucks, guys, you got wiring harnesses that are all torn to crap. I mean, you got rusted frames. Oh my Lord. Yeah, you guys. No, I can't. No. This is a project truck. This is not a good first truck. Nope, not interested. We want something we can start making money with right away. 45,000 for a W9 with a Caterpillar. Now we're talking. This is right in the market average. This is right where I'd expect the price to be. All right, price is negotiable. Comes with 2-year warranty. Remaining on the engine transmission, which goes with the truck. Yeah, it's 2000, but built 99, so E-log exempt, which is not really all that useful anymore. But oh my Lord, guys, a C16. I'm not a fan of the C16. and let's talk about it. So this would be a 1mm or a 1mm. So this is a 3406E, but a 1mm. So what that means is it's the same as the 2WS, only it's a 15.8 liter instead of a 14.6 liter. I know a lot of people might be interested in that because it's much more powerful. I mean, it's 600 horsepower from factory. And it's in engine warranty left, so this was probably rebuilt at an approved Caterpillar dealership, meaning either Cat or Peterbilt or Kenworth, right? And it actually has a Cat warranty, is what I would assume this means. This could, I think I'm going to put my thumbs up on this load, this truck, just because it does have an actual warranty on that engine. I'd be very careful with that C16. It's not a bad engine. It's just, I don't know. All the C16s I've heard about, they're always jacking the horsepower all to hell, and they have problems. Well, you've got a huge crank, you got a huge displacement, and it's hard to get fuel mileage with this one. So, if you're doing something that is like maybe if you're pulling maxi in the West, again, I don't even think I'd like this. Yeah, I don't know. I do like the price, considering that it still has 2 years of Cat warranty. I'm assuming that's what that means. Meaning it was a Cat rebuild, which is why it's only 600 horsepower. If it wasn't, it would show 750 horsepower because someone's jacked it up. So anyway, this could be a good truck just because it does have warranty. I'm not a fan of that C16. I know a lot of people look at that and be excited, but I don't get excited with the C16. It's too much literage. It's hard on clutches. It's hard on drive lines. It's hard on everything. It just doesn't pan out. That would have a factory turbo on it because it's a wastegated turbo because everything's still under warranty. 18 speed. No one ever mentions what gear ratio is in there. Let's go read and see if that it does. But this could be a good truck. I like the truck. I wish it had a 3406E 2WS instead of the 1mm. But this would be a fun, nice looking truck, good truck, pretty decent price, especially with the Cat warranty. So let's go see down here. Does it give us the rear end ratio? It's got low 24s, which is a very difficult tire to get. It's claiming it's got the 86-inch sleeper. Is that true? Yeah, I guess it does. I do like the 86-inch sleeper on these guys. It's the oldest truck that we can get with a pretty big sleeper. Or it's the biggest sleeper we can get in that year search that I put in. So I might overlook that C16. If it was built right and you don't overpower it, it could probably last forever. However, you just won't be good on fuel. It's I know people might argue with me on this one, but it's just going to be too many literage to haul 80,000 pounds effectively. If you're doing heavy haul, like maxi or something like that, where your fuel mileage is going to be down anyway and the extra power actually comes in handy, then it might be okay. So this one would be a maybe. Come on, let's go. Let's see. That's getting into too much price, I think. We need to keep it reasonable for first-time buyers. Which we're getting into the classic long hood trucks. The price is not going to be reasonable no matter what. Like, look at that one that was toward hell was still 30 grand. Let's see. 475 Cat. 60 $5,000. That seems like a lot of money. Here's another T2000. Let's take a peek at this one. T2000s are good for having low price. Call for price, Cummins, so that'll have an N14 in it. 500 horsepower, air ride, wet line. That means it's got a wet kit, pre-admissions, pre-e-log. Yeah, dealer owns since new. Dealer owned since new. What does that mean? They owned, the dealer owned it? I don't know, it doesn't make any sense. If you're running dry van, guys, and you want to stick with an e-log exempt truck pre admissions, and you like the Cummins, this could be a sweet spot. Again, it's dorky, ugly. No one's gonna look at that thing, but this could be a money-making truck. Got a 13-speed, great, beautiful. Let's see here. Ooh, let's go back. What is that? Is that a factory fridge in there? Oh my God. I haven't seen a TV like that in years. It's got a VCR in it. That was the original TV that came with the truck, guys. It does have a fridge. Cool. I mean, you know, these T2000s are starting to grow on me, guys. This would be a very livable cab. I mean, this would be almost as livable as the T8, the T680s that I buy. I mean, almost the same cab. I didn't realize that, but they kind of took this cab, and moved it forward into the modern T680s. This is basically the same cab, or a sleeper configuration. This could be. We don't know the price. Let's take a peek at it says 18 speed, but it doesn't. It has a 13. According to the pictures, it was a 13. So we don't know what rear end ratio. 362 miles. 362,000 miles. I'm wondering what that means. Is that since the overhaul? Is that original? It might be original. Maybe what that dealer owned meant is that this truck's always been owned by the Kenworth dealer. That'd be odd, but this could be, of course, we don't know a price, so this could be $100,000. Not worth it if that's the case. All right. What's the next one we should look at? 2001. This one's only got 1,000,001 on it. That's pretty low mileage for that year. 70,000 though. Gosh, guys. Here's a $40,000 truck. This is a more reasonable price. One picture. Low cab. What does that mean? So it's got the 6NZ engine serial. So what that always means, guys, when we say 6NZ, 2WS, 1LW, that's the prefix of the serial number. 15 speed, that I don't like that transmission. That's a bad transmission. 63 sleeper, that's the standard sleeper in those years. Wish we had more pictures to see what kind of shape this was in. The 40,000 is a pretty good price point for a 379 Pete with a cat in it, with a 6NZ in it. The question is where are we at on overhaul? Is it never been overhauled? Is it original? Actually, if it is original, never been overhauled, I'd actually be very interested, because then you could do the first overhaul the right way. It's a 2001, which means it may or may not be an e-log exempt truck. Probably not, considering that serial number. I think the first few numbers of 6NZ were e-log exempt. They were built in 2000, but the later run of those engines were made in 2001. So this is questionable whether it's e-log exempt. if that's something that, I mean, if you're going old, sometimes going to that E-log exempt is one more notch on the list, because even if you don't use that feature, because these have ECMs, you can plug into them. You can put an E-log in these fine. All the way back from 5EK, you can put an E-log in them, but you get the option of running an E-log or a paper log, and when you go to resell the truck, you never know what's going to happen in the laws. That could be good or bad. I don't know. So this could be yes because of the price, and possibly you might get a factory not been overhauled cat, which would be awesome because we could do the first overhaul. We probably will be doing the first overhaul soon, and the 15 speed sucks. I hate the 15 speed. It's a 10 speed. Just when you say 15 speed, it's a 10 speed. It has a low deep reduction below your bottom gears, so you'd never use them. It's a 10 speed. So that one could be a maybe, depending on if it checks out. 49, that's a reasonable price. Let's see, pretty good looking truck. A little too long a wheelbase, if you ask me. Let's see, what's the wheelbase? 13 speed, 304. Yeah, I don't like that long a wheelbase. It's difficult to get in the flatbed world. We are constantly going to small deliveries, and you'll fight with that frame length. It'll be a joke. One good thing about the frame length on flatbed is we have a lot of overhang in the front. So if you wanted to run a 53-foot flatbed, you could haul 60-foot pipe or 60-foot beams or whatever, and you could hang 3 or 4 feet over in front, 3 or 4 feet in back, and no permits. So if you want to haul some long freight, and you have a good customer that has long freight a lot, that was where the long wheelbase would be necessary and actually make you more money. And that had an N14 in there. Not real familiar with that engine, like I said before. Here's another $40,000 truck. Now we're talking about a reasonable price. Let's take a peek. 2001 N14, 13 speed, 265 on the wheelbase. That is perfect. Fuel capacity 150. It's probably 150 per side. So 300. This is a nice looking truck. The fender's dented up a little bit right there, looks like to me. Yep, 13 speed. This has the modern dash, the newer dash, because it's an 01. I don't know when they changed that exactly. Two bunk. It's got a double bunk. That's kind of rare for a 379. Yeah, I know very little about that engine, unfortunately. But let's see there's no notes. And you guys, we have yet to see one truck that advertised its rear end ratio. It's like no one cares. Like that's a very big part of the puzzle, and no one even bothers to care to post it. Okay. Here we go, a $200,000 truck. Yeah, this would be a good first truck for everybody. Let's see here. I kind of thought we'd pick. I think I need to sort this different, guys, because let's see if we can sort this by price or something. Price, low to high. Because for your first truck, we are going to be looking to get into a truck at a reasonable price that runs good and we can hopefully trust for a while. See, here we go, a T2000 for 12 grand. Probably not the best truck for your first truck, because at 12 grand, we're going to be doing some work to it. Let's see. It's a good old truck that is E-log exempt, has a Cat 12 C12 Wow. Super 10. Awful. Wow. I do not approve of this one. Just because there's some pretty that 10 speed sucks. I don't know much about the C12. It could potentially be a great engine, especially for fuel mileage. I just don't know enough about them. This would be something that someone like me would buy to experiment with, but I don't think this is something that a first truck buyer should buy to experiment with, because this would be an experiment. You know what I mean? This is probably an experiment truck. It'd be a fun experiment for 12 grand. I mean, I love cat, so 430, a little low on the horsepower, but if you're pulling, like, if again, these T2000s with the tall roof, it's an aero truck. It's kind of the first of the Kenworth aero trucks. This could be really good pulling a dry van. I just don't know enough about it to, you know, I do not like any of the 10 speeds. But if you're buying a $12,000 truck, you get what you get and you don't bitch. So this would be a maybe if you're in a spot where you can afford a $12,000 experiment. Here's another T2000. See, now we're picking up all the aero trucks because we sorted by rate, by price. That's probably what I should have done in the beginning. Let me pause this video, and I got to go get more coffee, and I might just start the video over with this one here. We'll see. All right, guys, I'm back. Coffee is freshened up. Let's look at these T2. I've never even considered these T2000s, but these prices are interesting. For a first-time truck buyer getting into a classic, not truck. This is not a classic truck. This is an ugly truck, but getting into a classic engine, because all of these models will have a, see, N14 Select Plus. In the Cummins world, that's thought to be the best engine ever created. Super 10. What's with the Super 10s? 390s. Oh gosh. What tire size? Yeah, this is going to be a slow truck, guys. If you have, it's under 1 million miles. Wow. I wonder if this is original, not ever overhauled. Yeah, this is one of those things where, 24.5 tires. Okay. You almost have to run 24.5s with that gear ratio. So we could go over some gear math, but let's just keep going on the trucks here. That one, I really don't like that gear ratio, guys. Here's a 2000 for 13. This has got a cat in it. Okay, now we're talking. Now I know what I'm talking about here. All right. Good truck, runs great, clean, dump valve, differential lock, 3-pedal, automatic. Rut roll. And C12. Yeah, I'm going to say no, because I don't know enough about these automatics, and this year, I don't think they had good automatics in this year. Nope, not touching that one. All right, the T600. I kind of like this model better. It looks better, and it looks more classic. This has a Cummins in it. Let's click on this. Let's see. Under 1 million miles, probably original. Let's see. Runs and drives a bit of a shimmy at 50-55. Came out of a state. Okay. That's going to be an N14, I want to say. It's got a 9-speed. So, guys, a 9-speed is a 13-speed without the splitter. So, you can take the 9-speed and you can add the splitter box to it and turn it into a 13, from what I understand. I don't know what that cost would be compared to just buying a 13, but I actually like the 9-speed better than the 10-speed, to be honest with you. Oh, so he doesn't post the gear ratio, but he does say 1300 RPM at 60. That's interesting. He must have tall tires. Yeah. So that's about the RPM that I run with my 336 glider. Let's see. You know what? That 9 speed is going to be an overdrive, I want to say. So ninth gear should be the same ratio as 13th gear. Not sure about that, but this could be a maybe. Yeah, you know, I don't love that 9 speed. I'd want to be upgrading that to a 13 here pretty soon. The price, you guys, this is hard to beat for a decent truck that's not a Freightliner. This is not a Freightliner, guys. Let's take a peek here. What's going on with the fuel tank? Where is the fuel tank? I haven't seen a fuel tank yet, guys. Yeah, see, a $14,000 truck, you're going to be doing some upgrades here, right away. I still have not seen a fuel tank. Eight airbag suspension. That's probably I hate that suspension system. I wonder if this thing has fuel tanks, or if you got to buy those. Comes separately with fuel tanks. I don't know. I don't know if they're up under the steps or what. This would be a maybe, guys. This could be a good truck for your first truck, especially for flatbed truck. This would be a nice flatbed truck. It has a little bit more of a classic look. You're not going to get laughed off out of the yard when you show up with a Freightliner Columbia or something. That could be a maybe. I kind of think that when you're going with your first truck, you're going to spend money. When you buy your first truck, you're going to spend money. Sometimes it's better to spend a little more and get something that you don't have to do as much work to. T800 is a great flatbed truck. I kind of think the T600 is a little better. It's a little more fuel mileage conscious. Here's a low top. This would be actually better in the flatbed world for aero. And it's got the skirts. This would be actually a very aero truck. This could be more aerodynamic than some of the new ones, to be honest. I'd want to take that deflector off the hood, but let's see here. I guess they must, yeah, they put the tanks under the steps. That's why I didn't see it on the other one. Okay, what do we got here? This has got the N14 again, 391s. Gosh, and another 9-speed. You're going to be spinning that engine pretty fast. Yeah, the price, that's a pretty good price for an engine that is a pretty damn good, solid engine. Okay, let's keep going here. Here's another T2000 with a Caterpillar, only 800,000 miles. Sometimes you have to wonder with these old trucks, is that 800 on the engine overhaul or is that 800 original on the odometer? C12 with a 13-speed, 227 wheelbase because it's an aero truck. Again, we don't know the rear end range. This could be a maybe, I think. I would approve of the 13-speed instead of that 3-pedal automatic. The 445 horsepower, they might have that wrong. I don't remember if that was a factory horsepower setting. I know there was a 435. They might have meant 435. Oh, no, I'm sorry. This isn't a C. I'm sorry. That probably is correct. I'm not familiar with the C12s. So let's see here. This could definitely be a maybe. Let's take a peek at some pictures, see what kind of shape it's in. And they might tell us. I want to know the rear end ratio, but no one seems to care about that. Those are all the pictures we get. Not a bad truck for $15,000. It's a 2002, so it's not E-Log exempt. If that's important to you, this would be a no-go. So this could be a maybe. The price definitely is, you know, if you're coming into the market with 30 grand or 40 grand in cash, this would be a great cash truck. You get $20,000 to put into it with upgrades, and get you into a pretty nice truck. Here's what I want to talk about real quick. I think you see where I'm going with this. So this part 1 video is talking about the old school trucks. Here's the problem with buying a T2000 or any of these Aero trucks. Your first truck you're going to buy, and then things are going to break, and you're going to put money into it. Once you start putting money into it, it's hard to stop putting money into it, because it's cheaper to put a new transmission in than to go buy a new truck. Maybe not even cheaper, it's easier, faster, because you don't have to re-register the truck, put it on insurance, all the paperwork, you just throw a new transmission in there. So once you start getting into these old trucks that you don't necessarily want to own, oh wait a minute, that was a Peterbilt. That's not a T2000, that's a Peterbilt. 386, huh. So sometimes it's better to go ahead and go with the long hood truck if that's the truck that you want to own, because you're going to put money into either one of them. The short nose trucks, the Aero trucks, you're going to put the same amount of money into them to keep them running as you would a long nose truck. Now they're going to get a little better fuel mileage on the way through, so you'll spend less money overall on fuel. But once you start fixing that truck up, unless you want to stick with that truck long term, if we're going for this video, it's part 1, which is the old school. That's assuming you want to stay old school, you want to get old school truck and stay there. This, you know, the Aero trucks may not be the right move, even though they're cheaper and better fuel mileage, because you're going to be sticking money into a truck that you'll never be able to get back. You'll never be able to get back out anyway, no matter what style. But if you bought a 379 for 25 grand over here, let's go take a peek at these. Now all of a sudden you have a truck that you really want to own and keep, right? So when you put a new transmission in there, when you put a rear end in there, when you do these upgrades that are going to break, right? Now it's a little different game, because you want to have that truck. When you do that on something like this that you don't want to have, you just bought to get you into the business, then when something breaks, it's a little more difficult to upgrade. Because like when things break, I like to upgrade above. Like if you have a 9-speed and that blows up, I would put a 13 back in, or an 18. Upgrade a little bit while you're doing it, right? When your rear end goes out and you got 390s, change it out to, you know, 264s, 336, 355, something better, whatever you want. So let's go check out some of these cheaper 379 trucks. And this looks like it's a short version. You notice that how they don't give any pictures of the side of profile. This to me looks like it's the 379, 378. Yeah, that's the short nose, which is why it's so cheap. 12.7 with a 10-speed. Again, no mention of rear ends. Why? No paperwork on rebuild. Not a show truck, but fires right up and runs good. This could be a money-making truck. It's not the extended hood 379. I'm not sure if he's got that right. This to me looks like a 379 standard. 379 came in 2 different types. 379, 379 extended hood. The extended hood is the one everyone knows. This might be just a standard 379. He might be used, because in the later years, they did change it to like a 389 and a 388 was the different bits, but I don't think they did that in these years. I could be wrong though. All right, here's the 379 long hood. This is what we're accustomed to. 2.1 million miles with Thermal King APU. Now we're getting somewhere, guys. Why is this so cheap? $25,000. No fuel tank on this side. That's interesting. Someone was trying to save some weight. I'm not opposed to that. You'd be fueling frequently, but weight savings is weight savings. This is a 2001. This may or may not be E-log exempt. It's got a 10-speed. So on the transmission models, so the 18 in the first, well, first of all, the O means it's an overdrive. The 18 means it's 18 foot-pound torque. The 6 means it's 6 holes. You got reverse, low, first, second, third, fourth, 6 holes. And then the 10 is 10 forward gears. Not sure what the B means in the T2, but engine is a cat. Okay. C15 cat. So this is almost certainly a 6NZ, 500 horsepower. This could be a good truck, very cheap for a long hood. But it looks like it's not been overhauled, or they don't know it's almost certainly been overhauled at least once with that many miles, but we don't know. So we might be getting into buying a truck that needs an overhaul here pretty soon. I'm not opposed to that, because if I'm going to buy a truck, I'd almost prefer to buy it cheap and do the overhaul where I can control it, where I can take it to the shop that knows what they're doing, do it the correct way. That way I know what I got, rather than hoping that the mechanic that the old owner chose knew what he was doing. So this would be probably an okay truck. That's a very old APU. Might be more problem than it's worth, to be honest with you. Yeah, this could be a maybe, guys. Cheap enough, get you into a truck that has good bones, and you'll probably be doing an overhaul soon. But afterwards, and I don't love the 10-speed. Anytime we're looking at a 10-speed, it's better be a cheap truck, and that definitely is. All right, $28,000 for a 379. That's a 2002. Here's a 1995. This has got a Cummins in it with a 2002. That's probably going to be the first of the ISXs, which were really good engines. I just don't know much about them, so I'm not going to check on that one. I know a little bit about this one. This is a cat. So it's a 3406 E. Looks like. I wish they would put which model. It's probably a 5EK. That was the first of them. Let's see. It's a pretty good looking truck. Let's see what it looks like under the hood. It looks like they've put some fresh recaps on there. It's got a train horn, if anybody likes that. These older trucks, 95s, they were very, very not spacious. Look in here. There's almost no headroom, and you have to duck pretty low to get back into the sleeper. I owned one of these trucks. I owned a 1996, and I loved it. It drove great. I love this style dash on the Peterbilt. Just a beautiful truck. It just, oh, he's done a little upgrades here. Ooh, hood's pretty broken up. For $30,000 $379, now you're probably not gonna get a fantastic shaped truck. This one, I'd have to say I would approve of this one. 250-inch wheelbase, very short. That's fine. I actually prefer that, so we can get in and out of tight locations. Hood damage, 11R24.5, 15 speed. That's what my 96 had, was a 15 speed, until I took it out and put an 18 in there. Yeah, I think I'd approve just because of the price. When we're getting into these old school trucks, guys, that part 2 and part 3 will go over newer trucks, but you kind of need to know some things. I don't recommend someone who knows nothing about trucking, nothing about trucks, nothing about engines or gears to be getting into something like this. There's just too much that can go wrong. So you need to have a little bit of knowledge, be a little bit of a truck guru, right? Do some studying. That tire size would be fine. The only problem is that it's going to set you up pretty high, and you might get into height problems. On the flatbed, 90% of the time it's going to be fine. The issue would be, depending on the plate, the fifth wheel plate, your winches that go along the bottom of your trailer, they might rub on your tires because your tires are so tall. So you might have to change your fifth wheel plate to a higher fifth wheel plate, or just make sure you don't put your sliding winches next to your tires. Use a ratchet winch instead of the sliding winches that go underneath, because you'll rub your tires. The other problem with that tire size is that they're expensive. It's not a very common tire size anymore. Used to be. The good thing about that tire size is they're tall, so it makes up for bad gearing. So if this had 370s or 390s, you'd need that tire size to make up for the bad gearing. So you may not want to change that tire size just because of your gearing. You might want to change the fifth wheel plate to bring that flatbed up a little more. And then you can't haul tall freight because you're so high. You have to be careful with tall freight. So I don't love that tire size, but I get probably why they did it was because this truck has some pretty low gears. That'd be good because look at the price. I'm a fan of that price. Let's see. Let's look at the Kenworth. I don't like this model Kenworth because the whole reason I'd go to the Kenworth is to get the better sleeper, and this is the old one that didn't have that. This has the pass through instead of the wide open thing. But let's see what we got here. Yeah, the Aerodyne. Apparently that's the one I don't like. 12.7 D-Trade and a 10 speed. Huh. 355s. Interesting. Yeah, the 355s with the with the 12.7 Detroit, not a bad combination. Really. I hate the 10 speed on all trucks, but for the price, this could be a good truck here. I'm wondering if that's original. I always wonder. Let's take a peek at some pictures here. Pretty bad paint job. This would be a truck you could get into, go pull some freight, make some money, and then maybe later on give it a paint job. This could be a fun truck if you're into this sort of thing. It's got a good engine. 12.7 Detroit was probably the most iconic engine for over-the-road truck drivers. Great fuel mileage. See what I mean? This is not the standard cab of the W9. It has the same problem that the Pete has. It's hard to get back there, so I kind of wouldn't want this one just because when I go to the W9, the whole purpose of it from the Pete, the big difference I would see is that bigger cab, that more headroom. And if you're not getting that, I just probably would prefer to buy a Pete. I love these dashes. Know very little about the 12.7 other than everyone likes it, and there's pretty much no one says anything bad about it. So this would definitely be a good truck. I like the gear ratio. I hate the transmission. The price is good. No talk about overhaul. Is that original miles? 250 wheelbase. That's great. Yeah, this hits all the boxes except for what do we got in the engine? At $30,000, I guess you don't get the choice of whether it had an overhaul. You better expect an overhaul. The good thing is the 12.7 is a cheap one to overhaul. So that definitely I'd have to say yes on that one. That was the same one we looked at. I'm not sure I like that paint scheme. That's got a Detroit in there though, and the price is pretty good. 10-speed. Anytime we look at a cheap truck, it's going to have a 10-speed in there, unfortunately. 253 for wheelbase. It's kind of short, but it's fine. So 11R20, 11R24.5s was a very, very popular tire size back in the day. So this one could be good. I don't love that paint scheme. I do like the 7-inch round lights. That's a great light. I had those on 2 of my 379s. Okay, so this is the reason it's so cheap. This is the short hood. So you see how it doesn't quite look the same in the front as the standard 379s? Well, this is a standard 379. This is not the extended hood. This is a great truck. Nothing wrong with these trucks at all, except for the resale value is low because everybody wants that extended hood. So this one here, I would take this off for sure if you're hauling flatbed. This here could be actually a wonderful truck because you're getting a very, very cheap price due to the fact that it's got that short hood. And you might even be able to negotiate below that. I hate the transmission. We don't know the gear ratios. Tire sizes, not my preferred tire size. What's the year? 1995. This might have Bud wheels, which is just a different wheel design, and they're very difficult to find anymore. It is what it is. So that one could be yes on the approval list. I don't really like that paint scheme personally, but let's see. What do we got here? 378. Apparently that's a thing. Here's a Cummins. Oh, we already looked at that one. Here we go. Here's the better sleeper for the W9. What year was this? 2001. Let's check it out. 2001 with a Cummins. N14 Select, or N14 Plus. I don't know if that means the Select Plus. I think that's what that meant. Headache rack, that's good. 18 speed, that's good. The 276, that's a decent wheelbase. I prefer a little shorter, but 355 is great ratio. That 355 and 18 speed is a good combination. It's about as good as you're going to find in these old trucks. It's got low pro 24.5s. Yep. 24.5 was a very, very popular rim size back then. Let's see. Computer reads 6. Let's see. Odometer reads. Computer reads 600. This is interesting. So this is what I want to know. The computer reads 600. Is that 600 original miles on the truck, or did they change the engine? I don't know. Let's take a peek here. Hang on. This is an 86-inch sleeper. This is the big sleeper. Headache rack, already set up for flatbedding. I think I'm going to put my stamp of approval on this one, guys. I don't like the 8 airbag suspension, but that's pretty common in the Kenworth world in this year, so you get what you get and you don't bitch. Yeah, guys, this would be a good truck. for 30 grand. Not bad. It has the big sleeper, double bunk. It's got a factory fridge. It's better than most Peterbilts. So this would be one reason that I wouldn't mind buying the W9. You in these years you had the option of that bigger sleeper, that 86-inch, and already the Kenworth, even with the 72-inch, was more roomy than the Peterbilt was, and it comes with a factory fridge. I've never seen a Peterbilt come with a factory fridge in these years. They may have. I just never seen one. Meaning it's wired for a fridge and everything. Isn't that a fridge? Pretty positive it is. Gotta be. Yeah, this would be a fun truck to buy, guys. Not, like I said, I don't know much about that N14. I know it's a pretty good engine. I just don't know much about it. Let's see. Okay. Dual 160-gallon fuel tanks. Wow. Some nice big fuel tanks. $31,000 for a Peterbilt. It's got a Caterpillar in it with 1.6 million miles. Let's check it out. 379 extended hood. Okay, runs and drives great. Title states rebuild. Okay, that means it's been wrecked and rebuilt. It's been wrecked and totaled and then rebuilt. Engine runs good. I'm not afraid of buying that because these trucks we're not probably going to get loans on anyway, because no bank's going to loan on this sort of truck anyway. If it runs good and drives good and can be aligned properly, then I'm not too concerned with it. Let's see. 1997, so this would be an E-Log exempt truck. It's got the small sleeper. The small cab. Always had about the same sleeper, 63-inch. So it didn't say, yeah, 5EK, that's a great engine. All the cats were a great engine in these years. 390s I'm not wild about. Let's go do the math on that one. Or didn't we already do the math on that one? No, we didn't. 390s. Oops. 390s. Now let's see, the 13 speed and the 18 speed were the same on the top three gears. Yeah. So there was no difference on the top three gears as far as the overdrive setup. So with the 390s, with that cat, we're going to be sitting 60 miles per hour at 1460. 1460 is too high. Okay. I'm talking for efficiency. For efficiency, we really need to be about this 1340, which means that's a 55 mile per hour truck. You know, that sucks. That's why I don't like the 390s. Let's see, what was the tire size? That's not it. Where? There it is. 11R22. Okay, so that changes the math some. So the 11R22.5 is 41.3. And that's what we got in here, 41.3. So let's put this 390s. So that does change it a little bit. If we stuck with that tire size, now 1340 is 58. Okay, so instead of a 55 mile per hour truck, we got a 58 mile per hour truck. You know, it is what it is. You know, yes, you can go 70 at 1620 RPM and get awful fuel mileage and just put a lot of wear and tear on that engine that's not needed. So I don't think that's the way to go. But as far as the truck is concerned, this could be one that I'd approve of. We'd want to probably change ratios, which is a very, very expensive change out. But the truck's pretty cheap, and it's a rebuilt title. So I don't know, guys. I don't think this one here would ring any bells, really. I mean, it's okay. All right, guys. I know this video is going pretty long, but this is fun. I enjoy this stuff. So if you like this kind of stuff, hit the like button, I guess, subscribe to the channel, and comment which truck would you go with. Let's see here. This is a cool looking truck. I like this one. Just looks good. Looks like it's well taken care of. It's got the light bars on the bottom. It's got a Cummins, 2.2 million miles. Let's see if we can find one with a cat. Here's a cat. This one looks like it's better paint job. Looks like it's been taken better care of. Beautiful truck, guys. For $35,000, not bad. $19.99. So this is an E-Log exempt truck. The old school dash, N14. Let's check out the details. N14, red top, 13 speed, good, 355 gears, much better than the 390s, 11R 24.5. Okay, let's go check out that gear ratio and see where we'd be. Again, we got the same tire size, so 355s with that tire size, which is the 11R 22.5. Now, I don't know where the N14 needs to run. I'm going to say if it's the same spot as the Cat, then that 355s gets us to 68 miles per hour. I'd imagine we could slow it down to 1350, 64, 13 would be 62. This would be much better on the gear ratio side, because now we can run that 62 miles per hour, really nice fuel mileage speed at a pretty low RPM, and then we can always pick up our speed a little bit and go 68, still okay. And then if we're down here in this speed and we hit a hill and we need to downshift, we can downshift right to 1540, great RPM to climb hills, and we can roll it down and then shift back down to direct over here at 56 and then roll it down. So this would be a great setup. I approve of that gear package with that tire size. Now let's put in the old tire size, which is this is what I mean, guys. The tire manufacturer says it's 40.2, but actually the math, when you do it, comes out better when you use 39.2. But let's say we went down to a low pro 22.5, because it's the same rim, you just change rubber, which are cheaper. The tall 22s are not as easy to find. So now it changes the math a little bit. We're at 1344 at 62. 1300 now goes 60. It basically changed about 2 miles per hour, which will be fine. The slower we go, the better for fuel mileage. And what I always say with the Cat is 13 to 14 is efficiency numbers. Of course, you got to be careful you don't overheat the engine climbing hills at that speed. But if you know what you're doing and driving, you can sit there and cruise at 1300 and then shift down up to 15 climbing hills and then shift back. So this would be good even with the low pro 24.5, or sorry, low pro 22.5. Okay, let's go back here. This would be one that I'd approve of. I'd probably approve of this one more than the others. I still, if I'm buying a truck, I think I'm going to stick with Cat because I know it so well. But if you don't know Cat, then it wouldn't matter which engine you buy because you're going to learn it once you own it. So here's just a standard cab with a Detroit. We're getting up into a more higher price, 36,000, 18 speed, 391s. It just costs so much to change rear ends. Now with the Detroit, it does like higher RPM and it gets better fuel mileage. So it may not be awful. This is a decent looking truck though. Not bad. Looks like it was taken pretty good care of. Those brakes are done. Needs a brake job. Yep, those brakes are done. Be doing a brake job within the first couple of months. What do you think, guys? This would be a good one? The nice thing about buying one of these long hood trucks is you could own it for a while, and you could be pretty comfortable just getting used to this truck. It's got a fridge. You see the difference though, how much it's a little shorter right here than the bigger one. Let's see. Lots of pictures on this one. Detroit. Yeah, this would be okay. I like the 18 speed. That's definitely an improvement. Well, the 18 and 13 are the same transmission, really. So it doesn't really matter. I just would prefer to have the 18 if you're going to have one. 261, that's not excessive on wheelbase. So yeah, I would say this would be a great truck. Pretty good looking truck. Could use some polish. I don't love that paint scheme necessarily, but it's fine. It looks good. Yeah, I'd say if you like the Kenworth, you like the little bit bigger space. This has a factory fridge, which would be a huge benefit. I might think about buying a W9 because of the cab, the sleeper in the cab and the fridge. Like I said, I've never seen a factory fridge in a 379, which I don't know why, but not in these years. It wasn't until the 389 came out that they started putting factory fridges in it, from what I've seen. So this could be a great truck, guys. So this style truck would be what I'd look at if we're going old school. Again, depending on who you are, going old school may not be the right move. Probably won't be the right move. In fact, I'm going to say, see, is it part 2? I think it's part 2. I'm going to go over modern trucks. So part 2 is probably where most people need to buy the modern truck, the 2020 and above, with an automatic. Sorry, guys. I know everyone hates to hear that, but you know, if you're going to go old school like this, you have to deal with all the crap. You got to deal with a million plus mile truck. You got to deal with rust everywhere. You got to deal with wiring harnesses, all the stuff going on. If you're okay with dealing with that and you want to own one of these trucks because you've always wanted to, and you just want to own a truck that you can just get comfortable in fixing, updating, and just keep it running. The nice thing about these Peterbilts and Kenworths, you can replace everything. Everything is rebuildable. Everything is replaceable. So the truck never truly dies. If that's something that interests you, then these old school trucks would be the way to go. If you're just trying to make money, get started, probably the modern truck might be the better option. Here's this truck again that we looked at the start. That's a phenomenal deal, really. Ugly truck, but phenomenal deal. All right. What else can we go over, guys? I think we've pretty much hit everything. Let's go down a little more until we get to a little more expensive trucks. Because sometimes starting with that very, very cheap truck, I love that paint scheme. That's my favorite paint scheme. Caterpillar. Ooh, let's look at this one. I don't like, that's the Aerodyne sleeper. The whole reason I'd be buying a Kenworth is for the better sleepers. So 355 gears. What engine? Caterpillar. What year? Huh. What engine is this? .355 is an 18-speed, 270 wheelbase. Fantastic specs, guys. This is This is a fantastic truck. I just wish it would have the updated cab and sleeper. So you can see how the cab and sleeper are separate instead of being integrated. That's the Peterbilt style. You know, you had the cab separately, and then they bolted the sleeper on. That's good because you can replace the sleeper separately from the cab. But it's also kind of the reason that we picked the W9 is for that bigger, roomier cab or sleeper. So this is the 86 though. Tank's bent. It looks like tank might be bent up a little bit right there. Not a big deal. Got a headache rack on there, already set and ready to go for flatbedding. Let's take a peek inside the sleeper when we get there, because I like this truck, honestly. It's just, this is the whole problem here. You know, you've got this old school crawl through sleeper. It is the big sleeper though. It's the 86 inch. So I guess maybe you can get used to crawling through if you got a little more room in there. I like this truck. I think I'll give him a call and grab it. Just kidding. Okay, so this is almost, yeah, this is a 40 pin ECM, so it's either a 5EK, 6TS, or 1LW. Probably the 1LW because of the year. I can tell because it's got a shorter water cooler. There's nothing wrong with these 40 pinners. Those 40 pin cats ran very, very good. There was very little difference between a 40 pin ECM and a 70 pin. 70 pin was 2WS and above, so 2WS, 6NZ, and then maybe the MBN, which was the bridge engine, might have been a 70 pin. I can't remember, but the three starting out were the 5EK in the 3406E. You go back to 3406C and 3406B, and then I'm not really sure, but starting out with the 3406E, it was the 5EK, 6TS, and then 1LW. And then they switched to a 2WS, and that was the first of the 70 pinners. 70 pin ECM. This is a beautiful truck. It must have had a new paint job. I don't think that's an original paint job. Pretty nice looking truck. Pretty good looking truck. This would be a great flatbed truck. 40,000 bucks. Where are we at on the engine overhaul with 1 million miles? I'd like to get some information on that. Never overhauled that engine. Fine, whatever, you know. 11R24.5. That's crazy tire size for that gear. Let's go check that out, guys. So 355s with the 11R24.5, which is 43 point. Oh crap! I'm sorry, guys, I messed that up. 43.4. So that cat would want to run about 13 to 14. So in top gear, that's a 65 mile per hour truck to 70 mile per hour truck. A little fast for me, to be honest with you. I would want to go down in tire size. You could drop a gear and then you could run 60 to 55. Problem is this overdrive 1 gear is not an efficient gear. It's not very efficient, and then we could drop to direct, but that doesn't work. So I would probably be changing those tires and rims to the Low Pro 22, just to get that down. Same thing. Keep my winches from hitting the tires. Get the freight down a little bit. Over the road you don't need that height, right? Tires are better. They have better rolling resistance, better fuel mileage, and they're cheaper, easier to find. And if we did that, we'd be at the 40.2. Now that truck becomes a 60 mile per hour truck to a 65 mile per hour truck in top gear. Actually, it's not quite that because we did that wrong. Again, like I said, guys, we need to the manufacturer, the tire manufacturers don't get that quite right. So it'd be about a 63 mile per hour truck to about a 59, 58. Perfect. That's my speed anyway. That's the speed I like to drive, because you struggle to drive over 65 in the east and the south, because the speed limit's 70 and everybody's, with all the traffic, you're just not going to maintain faster than 65 anyway. So that's what I would prefer to do. This truck got the right gears. I would prefer a 264 and run in direct. That's more efficient, but you're not going to find that, and gear changes are so expensive. So this could be a good truck, guys. You would need to do very little to it. It looks like. I'd want to check the engine. Want to make sure that there's not excessive blow by. I'd want to make sure I had money saved up to do an overhaul, because 40 grand and you might be 6 months in needing to do an overhaul. It might already have a blown head gasket that they're trying to sell, right? So I'd want to do all the checks, just like always, but this could be a great truck for 40 grand. Get you into a truck that'd just be a fun truck to own. Wait a minute. This is a flat glass. Yeah, this is a flat glass Kenworth. Wow. This is a unique truck. I like that. So yeah, I didn't notice that before. Sorry, guys. This is a flat glass. So normally the Kenworth W9, they have a rounded windshield, one-piece rounded windshield. It's not really any different. It's just that these cabs are somewhat rare, and it's because they went to the new all-integral cab. I didn't realize that, but yeah. And so what comes with that also, the reason I noticed that was, let's go back here. So you see how the fuel tank's right up against here, and the stacks come out from under. I don't know how this looks on the inside. I think it comes out between the cab and the frame instead of dropping down under the frame and coming out. The nice thing about that is the Kenworth was known for having a problem with the way it mounts this stack to the cab. Because it came out underneath, it had a big bracket here that was bolted to the frame. Since it was bolted to the frame and the cab moves around because the cab is on airbags, they had to put flex in there. So they put bushings on the cab where it bolted. So the bushings would have flex to them. Well, those bushings would always squeak. And you'd try to oil them and they'd get dirt in there and they'd squeak and they'd wear out, and it was a constant problem. You could replace them like every 6 months and they just constantly wear out and squeak, and just a super annoying problem with the W9. Well, there wasn't a problem with these older ones because they were bolted hard there and they had flex pipe underneath. So it flexed underneath instead of flexing up here. So that was one problem with the W9 that wasn't a problem with these older cabs. So that would be a really fun truck. Not as roomy, as comfortable as some of the other Kenworths, but every bit as roomy as a Peterbilt. So I would think about buying that one. Okay, guys, I think I'm going to end it there. This video is getting super long. It's super fun doing all this stuff, but let me know what you guys think. That is part one. What truck should you buy? This is going old school with it, going classic, getting a truck that you can own forever and keep rebuilding and have a truck that never dies. I don't think I'd recommend this for very many people, but if that's you and you really want that, and you've researched this stuff and you understand the engines, you understand the technology, you understand what you're dealing with, you understand the fuel mileage is not going to be what it is in a modern truck, and you make your business plan work for that, then these old school trucks are really fun. Also, they're E-log exempt if that's important to you. It brings the freedom back to trucking sometimes, except for brokers require E-logs in a lot of cases. So that's a problem. This truck is either way. It can have an E-log or it can't. So you can kind of go back and forth depending on your customer, what they prefer. So anyway, that would be what I would recommend when it goes to old school trucks, classic trucks. Again, I don't recommend old school trucks to everybody because it can it could be the exact thing you need to not do. It could be the thing that puts you out of business if you don't know what you're doing. But if that's the situation you're in, those would be some great trucks. And that's what I look at. Those are the gear ratios that I look at. That's why I look at them. So one thing I want to talk about real quick before I end the video is make sure when you're looking at these trucks, you pay attention to the overhaul. So don't just buy a truck because it had an overhaul. Remember, oftentimes I said I would prefer a cheaper truck with no overhaul that I know I'm going to be doing one soon, because that way I get what I want. I get the overhaul I want. Not all overhauls are equal. If they say, overhaul with paperwork, okay, great. What was done? If they can't explain what was done and they don't have a liner protrusion chart and they don't have all the parts list, and they don't, not all overhauls are equal. Some overhauls don't even change the head. It all depends on what they did. Overhaul just means the engine was opened up and some parts were changed. What parts? What got done? What did you do? Any machine work? No machine work? All that sort of thing matters, guys. And especially today, when these engines are getting 1 million, 2 million miles on them, what becomes critically important is how that overhaul was done. Did they slap new pistons and rings in there and some new bearings in the bottom end and put the old head back on and say an overhaul? And never check liner protrusion, right? If so, you're going to be doing an overhaul soon again. So just keep that in mind. Not all overhauls are equal. So anyway, that'll be the end of the video. Let me know what you guys think. And let me know what option you're going with. Again, I haven't run the other ones, but part one, old school classic trucks, bad fuel mileage, cool trucks, trucks that never die. Part two will be modern trucks, cheap, very fuel efficient, throwaway trucks, plastic fantastics. Probably better for profitability, but you throw them away at the end, and then part three will be gliders, which is kind of a blend of the two. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks.